Hi, everyone. Susan Finch here, co-host for SLMA Radio. And today my guest is Jaysen Greenleaf. And Jaysen Greenleaf is the Vice President of Business Development for RIO Genesis Software. RIO Genesis, if you don't know, is a centralized web-based real estate transaction management platform. It has everything all in one. So Jaysen, I am so excited to have you on today. And we're going to be talking about recruiting, retaining, and team building.
Thank you for having me, Susan. I feel lucky to be here. Thank you.
I know a lot of times in SLMA Radio, we focus on tech companies that have software, and RIO Genesis is software as well. Let's talk about recruiting people to keep your business current so that we don't get stuck in the same old type of people we think that, they've always worked for us. We've always had this kind of person. Let's do something that's, a little more current, and it's riskier. It's scarier for some companies, I've found.
Well, let me give you a little bit of my background. So before starting with RIO Software Solutions, or RIO Genesis, last December, I came from Phoenix Asset Management, which oddly enough is not located in Phoenix.
So yeah, tell me, how did we get from where you were to where you are now?
Well, it's interesting. My background, before starting with RIO Genesis in December of last year, I came from an asset management firm called Phoenix Asset Management. 2 offices, one located in Denver, Colorado, and one located in Salt Lake City. We, at one time, were the biggest outsourcing company in the United States for servicers, sub-servicers, banks, to manage their RIO and short sale properties across the country. That plays into retention really well, actually, and I'm probably a good case study of that. When I started with Phoenix Asset Management, we were probably 7-8 employees at the most. And, there was 4 or so in Denver and 4 of us in Salt Lake. And within a number of months, grew to becoming over 80 employees. That's a huge task. Not only did we have to add that number of employees, but we moved offices in Salt Lake City 3 times in 8 months.
Good grief. Now, was that the goal, though, at that point? A lot of startups say, oh, yeah, we want to grow to this point in this many months, or all of a sudden they're just blindsided and they just need to start gathering more team members immediately. Which way did it go for you?
It's a combination of both. At the time, there were a limited number of outsourcing companies in the industry. And so it was a benefit of good business development, but also being available to do business with these companies. This also plays in really well to where I believe RIO Genesis is at this point. And we're going to be going through some of these growth processes that I went through 8 years ago. Me, as a case study, prior to coming into this industry, I worked for Hilton Hotel Corporation. Completely different industry.
What did you do for Hilton?
A lot of different things. Started out as a sales manager, moved up pretty quickly, but as in a lot of companies, there's glass ceilings. And at some point you hit a level where you don't feel you can grow anymore and it's time to spread your wings. My buddy at the time worked for Phoenix Asset Management. He was one of the 4 employees in Salt Lake. And he said, look, I think we're going to be hiring and growing. I said, I don't know anything about your industry. I said, I'm willing to learn. It sounds fun. I think it would be great. And
okay, so let me back up, though, because we are also talking about millennials. What age were you at that point? Because you and I are we're close to the same age.
You're 29 as well.
Oh, no, I'm a happy 50. I got to tell you, I'm a happy 50, but I think you're in your 40s.
Well, I turned 45 this year.
Okay, so when you were going through this, though, on that topic of millennials and that age range, though, is that where you were?
I was, when I started with Phoenix Asset Management, I was 36 years old.
Okay.
I had just transitioned. I'd moved back from New York a number of years earlier, started with that company. So I might have been just a little bit older than that age group, but maybe this is even a better case study because I was a little older at the time.
And you were rebuilding, kind of reinventing or being open to reinventing what you thought you were doing.
Absolutely. And that's scary. It is scary to do that type of stuff and make a change like that in your life. I thought I was in my job. That was going to be my job when leaving to go take my kids to sports after work or go to their high school graduation and all this. And then all of a sudden here you are. And it's like, man, I'm starting over. And I was really starting at the bottom. And I interviewed with the gentleman that I worked for 8 years there, numerous times. And, going through the process of convincing him that I could adapt and change. So I came from outside the industry. Now, all the people that we hired from other companies that were similar to ours, and I'll call it cherry picking, were very proficient in what they were doing. They were very good at what they were doing. And I don't know, my former boss always said, I think the reason you did so well is you came to the table with no bad habits.
That's exactly the thing, because I even hire interns periodically or part-timers. And that is the best part, when they are that new or new to my industry and they are open and willing to learn. I mean, that's one of my biggest hiring criteria, because I want to make sure that I'm not going to have to constantly be battling, well, this is how I'm used to doing it. And this is how, well, why aren't you there then?
Right. Again, my former boss, he trained and molded me from nothing. I came nothing. I didn't know anything about the industry. I didn't have any experience in asset management. I didn't know what was required on a daily basis. And I joined a team at the time that had 5 industry experts, including my buddy who worked for the company. And we cherry picked people from other banks, other servicers, other outsourcing companies. And these people were all experienced. And so my team of 7 people that I was working with, I should say, just as an asset manager, I wasn't managing the team. These people were very experienced and much younger than me. And so I had to work weekends to keep up with these people. I'd come home and Friday night continue completing tasks and doing different things, sending out emails and following up on closings and different things that they would just boom, boom, boom. They're working off 3 screens and 2 keyboards, and I'm over here with one mouse, trying to figure out, okay, how do I do this? Oh, look, control copy. Wow, that works. I don't need to highlight it. So you can bring people from outside your industry and mold and train them to work very well within your company. A lot of companies are big on experience, and for certain industries and certain types of work, that's needed. I get it. You can't go be a doctor if you're not a doctor or trained to be one.
Right.
You just can't. Within our industry, it's fairly easy to recruit. There's a lot of talent out there. On my side of what I'm working with RIO Genesis and RIO Software, our industry peaked in about 2009, and there were a lot of people working, a lot of outsourcing companies, a lot of banks up and running, a lot of title companies out there, startups, and a lot of those have closed the doors and gone away. And there's a lot of talent floating around out there, but I always think it's nice to bring people in and give people an opportunity that maybe haven't been there before. Kind of as, my old boss's example of me,
right.
I don't bring anything bad to the table. I don't have bad habits.
No, but and I hear people in different industries talk about, millennials and I do say millennials because there are some true benefits to getting, like you were saying, the younger people that can manage the 3 screens. Mm-hmm. That is their life. I mean, they Absolutely. Are so tech savvy. They have that dream still. They have that American dream, like reinfused in them, that they can Correct. Make it happen.
Correct. Well, and a good point of that too, when I joined RIO Genesis in December, I got introduced to a number of the employees that the owner, Mike Krein, had hired, and very young guys. And I immediately became impressed with how good they were at development and product management and just all the things needed to build the platform that's been built that we're so lucky to have right now and be working right. with, and that we're so lucky to be able to take out there because it is so needed in our industry. But these young people were phenomenal, and they're great, and they're fun to work with. They're smart, they're educated. I think there's probably a theory out there that a lot of young people are going to be job hoppers or will just jump to the next best thing. But right. I think that a lot of the millennials and younger people are looking to establish themselves early. And I think a lot of them realize that you can't, job hopping is very difficult. If you do that, you can become known in your industry as a job hopper if you stay in the same industry. And we have a number of those in ours. And then it becomes difficult to find a job because nobody wants to hire a job hopper. But I think a lot of the millennials and younger people are realizing if I jump in, find a good company, and I stick with it from the ground up, there's a big future for them.
I agree. So at that place, we're going to take a break right now for station identification. And we're going to come back and talk about some of the ways we know what we want with these millennials and why. Let's talk about how do we get them in and how do we keep them?
Perfect.
Okay. So I'm Susan Finch. I'm back here with my guest, Jaysen Greenleaf of RIO Genesis Software, and we are talking about recruiting here on SLMA Radio. So we're so glad you've joined us, and let's continue this conversation. Earlier, we were just talking about all the reasons why you would want to make sure that you can get those millennials and the younger people into your business, to infuse your business with that energy, with the spirit. And we've busted all the myths about millennials, that they're not typically job hoppers. They realize that they need to hook themselves up with more experienced people that know how to build businesses, grow them, and make them a success. And they can't do that if they're job hopping from one thing to another. So Jaysen, let's get back to talking about, for one thing, what are we going to bring them in with? How do we get them to like us, to want to consider us? The old methods don't always seem to work. And I mean, from brick and mortar, from tech, we're having to learn new ways of doing things if we want to get great new talent that will stick with us.
I think there's a number of ways and methodologies to that. I think the biggest one is company culture. You have to have a phenomenal company culture. And company culture could be a very broad topic. It doesn't need to be one thing. My former company and the company I work for now, RIO Software Solutions and RIO Genesis, both had phenomenal company culture. And what I mean by company culture is the ability to be entrepreneurial, the ability to share your ideas, the ability to feel open to talking to management, to working with management and expressing your views. Because I'll tell you what, upper management doesn't always have all the answers. And there's a lot of good people with a lot of education coming into the market that can help solve problems. You look at some of the great companies out there. My brother used to work for Adobe, and Adobe opened a big campus here south of Salt Lake City. Their company culture I found very intriguing. There were bean bags all over. They had TVs up, and not that you want to take away from people being busy, but the TVs weren't focused on soap operas or the sports channels. It was focused on industry related news. So people would go and sit down and maybe lunch, catch up on what was going on in the industry, what was going on in the markets. They had a great workout facility that overlooked the valley. People go down there at any given time during their day. And I'm not going to speak for Adobe that I exactly know their corporate culture and policy. I don't want to speak for them, but their culture just seemed great. It seemed phenomenal. And then I've also had a cousin that's worked for Google, and Google, another great culture company, just the way that they treat their employees, but with the way they treat people, there's much expected. So the better you get treated, there's, where a lot is given, there's a lot expected. And
I was watching a bio recently on Disney.
Okay.
And I hadn't realized, we all know about, Google and Microsoft and all these different companies with their fun rooms and their casual. Disney did it back in the 40s, 50s. And he had the gym and he had the cafeteria where you could put your order in and the food would come to you. And it was the same thing that, now I don't know why they think it's a new idea, but he was doing it then. He was building community.
Correct. And so, Susan, I don't like to use the term family loosely because I think that insinuates a lot of non-corporate responsibility in that term if it's interpreted, incorrectly. But you do build a family, and you build a group of people that have each other's backs, that work well with one another and for one another, and are there for each other. And if you can build that type of relationship, that type of family, that type of culture within your business, I believe that's very attractive to millennials.
I do too, because a lot of them are striking out on their own or realizing that I want to buy a house. I don't have that yet. I've moved somewhere else. I'm alone. And they are looking for family, for community, because the word family can mean a lot of twisted things to some people.
Correct.
But it's the same thing. It's that community, that safe haven to be able to express yourself and pull together for the success of the whole.
No, you're exactly correct. And culture too, something else that plays into that, and I'll use our company as an example of that. I had known our owner, Mike Crane, for years. Mike was, as an asset manager, Mike was my go-to broker in Las Vegas. I got an RIO asset or a short sale asset or a commercial asset, boom, it went to Mike. Wasn't even a thought. I just sent it to him. And so I've had that relationship with Mike for years. And we've had discussions about working together or maybe me coming to work for him at some point. And the reality of it was that our company headquarters is located in Henderson, Nevada. I'm in Salt Lake City. I have responsibilities here. I have family members. I have my parents. I have things that not only are responsibilities to me, but to me, it was very important to be here. I can't leave Salt Lake. I needed to be able to work from here. And that was always a challenge. One day Mike just finally reached out and just said, look, if you can work remotely from Salt Lake City, what's your thoughts? And, we went down that conversational path. Now, obviously, I work from home, and that's a great perk as a company culture, but I wouldn't tell you too that it doesn't give me anxiety sometimes. I miss the office environment. There are days where it gets so quiet that I'm like, pulling my hair out. Like, where's the conversation? Where's the camaraderie? So culture, again, can be defined into many different things, and it means what it means to that individual.
Earlier, you were describing when you came in and you met all the younger people that were working there and the energy they had and how great they were and the freedom they were given. They were expected. Those expectations were high, but that culture was there. And it sounds like it has gone beyond the walls. And so I think for everybody's business, you have to decide if you're going to have an all on-site staff or whether you're going to have all remote or a combination. How do you continue that culture across all those pieces of your team, of your community, to keep them feeling a part of, included? I mean, what are some of the ways? I heard you talk before about RIO Genesis. You might not be in the office, but there are 2 meetings a week, right?
Correct. Yeah, every Tuesday and every Thursday morning. It's a good conversation. You go around, everybody speaks, says what's going on, what they're experiencing, if they have any challenges, if they need any help, or if they've got any observations or good experiences to share with others. And so it's good. Working remotely, there can be a feeling of isolation, but if you're connected enough with your office, you don't have that. With my former company too, we made the decision as executives of that company that there's a lot of great talent in the 2 cities that we live in, but maybe we don't want to hire this personality or that personality or this job hopper or this bad habit individual. And there's great talent outside of these 2 cities. And so the decision was made that, look, we can cherry pick from around the country. This particular job is very easy to do remotely. You just need 3 computer screens and you need a telephone and you can rock and roll. And so we had employees from Ohio to Oregon to Washington. On my team in particular, my last couple of years at Phoenix, my team was pretty much remote to me. I worked in the Salt Lake office, but I had 2 employees in Denver and I had 3 in Oregon and Portland. And so you do have to focus and you do have to figure out ways to make sure that you are communicating, that they feel part of what's going on in the office. And so a couple of things that I would do and still do to this day here with RIO Genesis is look up industry articles. Find things on whether it be Housing Wire or LinkedIn that are good, that are industry related, that pertain to these individuals and their jobs, and forward it to them. Maybe they don't take the time to go out and do that. A lot of people in our industry don't have time to even take lunch. But, if it comes from me and I'm shooting them these emails with the information and say, hey, look at this exciting article, or look what's going on in our industry, or here's what our competitors have done well or not well, and let's do better. Mike and RIO Genesis does a great job with the calls every Tuesday and Thursday, and that was very similar with my former company. You just have to keep in touch, and you can even do stupid things like playing fantasy football with your team.
Yep.
It gives a good excuse to make a phone call and throw a jab at somebody, and it takes all of half a minute, but you're still the feeling of, hey, we're still a team and this person still knows I'm here. That feeling is there.
Well, I know last week, and I don't want to date this show, but any charity type of thing, a quick initiative. There was the one called #PolishMan, and Mike, pulled everybody in remotely. They pulled you in.
Correct.
They had the team there that they all got their, one nail polish to stand up against child abuse and violence. It opened up a conversation for everybody. It, once again, it sealed in. You guys all knew you were on the same page. Correct. Everybody knows that they're on the same page on that issue in that office, because that's the type of people that RIO Genesis hires. Because I've known the Crines for years as well. And if you're not on that page.
Yeah, you're not going to fit in.
That's core stuff. That is core.
No, you're not going to fit in. What was interesting about that is once that got published on social media, I probably received about 7 phone calls just generated off that. Now, 2 of them were industry related that were exciting for me to receive those phone calls. And the others were just, hey, a couple brokers out there that I've worked with over the years that saw it and said, hey, good job. What is this? What are you guys doing? And it opens a dialogue. They were like, oh, so you just, you're just painting your fingernail to support it and you leave it on for the day. It's like, well, no, you have to take it a little further than that. And, so locally, and because it was the end of the week, I still haven't heard what our office has done on that day to fully support it. And I'm excited to hear that. Locally, I just rounded up a bunch of pencils, pens, notepads. I bought a football and a basketball. And one of my buddies is a director for the Boys and Girls Club over here in Salt Lake City. I took him over and just said, hey, I know you guys are good about giving kids after school programs. It keeps them out of trouble. It keeps them out of probably getting into abusive situations by keeping them busy. It gives them activities. And I showed him my fingernail and he laughed and he said, oh, are you going to go for the full hand? And I was like, no, that's,
That's not the point.
but it generated the conversation. Well, what is that fingernail? What is that doing for you? What are you supporting? And I told him about it. It was great. Those type of things are not just to drive attention to your business or attention to what's going on with you. It's really local initiatives or national initiatives to support people in need and entities out there that are supporting good programs and good initiatives. It is a conversation generator, and it's not a bad thing to utilize that to your benefit.
It is, and everybody wins. I mean, I run a 501c3, so I know how that goes. I'm happy if you guys benefit and you get good PR out of it and you gave us a check. Good for us. Good for the kids. Everybody wins. I think the most important thing, the positive benefit to the business is a byproduct of it. The positive benefit to the charity, yes, that was the goal. But the core thing of that is the positive benefit to the team and how it started that conversation internally to build the strength of the culture of what is at the root of all of you.
Absolutely. From going back to the topic at hand, which is, recruiting and retention. When you do these things and those things get out on social media, young people pay attention to that kind of stuff. People that are in college are very into the feeling of we can change the world. And that's a good feeling. That's a great feeling. And it's a good attitude that comes out of college. And when they see companies that are trying to affect change for the positive by supporting good programs and doing things, I think they feel endeared to those types of companies.
And where they see you guys having fun doing it. That's
Absolutely.
The other part. They want to have fun. They don't want work to be a drag. Absolutely.
In fact, my previous company where it was head down in between your 3 screens every day, just all day. I mean, you just were constantly responding to emails and setting up, countering offers and following up on closings and touching base, assigning properties to agents, doing all the above. Where's my BPO? Where's my appraisal? I need this. I need this. I need this. Our company at the time was very good. And I think RIO Genesis is very good about this as well. But there were days where it was like, hey, time out. We're going to a barbecue in the park. Everybody take 45. We're going. It's all set up. Let's go cook some hamburgers. Let's everybody relax. Let's get in some sun. Or let's go bowling. We're going to go bowling. The environment, you realize that your employers care about you. You realize that your fellow employees, you get to know them better. There were people at Phoenix that I probably would have never talked to in the Denver office if we wouldn't have had these different things going on, from fantasy football to company get-togethers to Christmas parties. I was very lucky to get to know these people because they're all great people, and I made some good friends out of that.
Well, the departments didn't cross. So if you're head down the whole day.
Absolutely.
The last true company that I worked for, because I've been independent for, 15 years, we used to every Friday go for sushi. We would shut the office down early. And if a great movie was coming out, we would shut the office down early. And in theme, costume, and food, would go wait in line for 5 hours for a midnight showing.
Right.
But that's what we did. I mean, that former boss has become part of, they're part of our family. They're like my kids' grandparents now. And they're coming here in December for Star Wars. Because
and I love that. I've heard your story about what you guys are doing, and I absolutely want to just fly out there and join you guys for that, because I'm very excited about that as well. But yeah, there's so many different neat things. I mean, working remotely, I don't get to experience some of the neat things that go on in our Henderson office. I know there's birthdays and there's cakes, and when I get lucky enough to go down to the office and, at lunch, everybody's like, where are we getting lunch from? Let's go do this. And it's a great feeling. I've been through this growth process before with Phoenix Asset Management. I know it's coming for RIO Genesis, and I know that we have our policies and procedures, everything set up. We've got the key personnel to absolutely handle fast growth, because growing too fast can be bad if it's done incorrectly.
Right.
The future's just very exciting right now. It's very exciting.
Well, Jaysen, that is a great way to end our show. How can everybody reach you?
Well, they can find me on LinkedIn at Jaysen T. Greenleaf. They can email me at jgreenleaf@riogenesis.com, or they can even search me on Facebook. I'm a very open person and love to make new friends.
That's great. This has been a wonderful conversation about recruiting and retention, and from different perspectives that you've had throughout your life. Well, I appreciate that you came on the show today. And folks, go out to slmaradio.com to catch past episodes. Subscribe to us on iTunes and our podcast station on our website. So slmaradio.com, brought to you by the Sales Lead Management Association.
So thank you, Susan. Let me just say it's been fun listening to you, and it's been exciting to actually finally be on your show.
You're welcome. We'll have you again, I'm sure, because I want to see the progress of RIO Genesis.
Well, we'll be excited to share it with you, because it's going to be Fast and Furious 8.
Right.